I feel like wherever he's going, not announcing that is just all that's done is prolong the speculation.
Yeah.
I just think it could have been avoided by if they had just. I don't know. I still to this day don't know why it hasn't been announced. If he's going somewhere. I think it's been a massive distraction for him and the club.
Well, thanks for joining us here at White Water Sports for another edition of Queenslander, where it's usually perfect weather here this time of year in the Sunshine State during winter. Not so much at the moment, boys. We had an earthquake the other day. How did you guys cope with it? Did you feel it?
Yeah, my young fella texted me. Said there's been an earthquake in Noosa, and I said, "You're joking? Like you're watching fake
news, yeah."
And then I got on the internet a little bit later, and it was 5.6.
Yeah,
up sort of just inland from Noosa.
Yeah,
I didn't feel it, but.
I felt it, yeah. So I live on the Sunshine Coast. I was in the laundry and it almost felt like a
What were you doing in the laundry?
Yeah, doing some washing on a Saturday morning. Yeah. It felt like a massive semi-trailer was going past, but it lasted like 20 seconds. And my partner was in the bedroom and she's like, the roof is shaking and that. But it's amazing to go through what was a mini earthquake. But I believe you had experience over in the US during your trip.
Yeah, it was in San Francisco over there, and it was a major one. I think it was 7 or something like that on the scale, and it certainly was. I had the family. The boys were in the shower with their mother, and they all sort of went backside up. And I can remember opening the window and looking down, and the streets are going like that. There was a bus full of people, guys that got out of the bus and were walking up the hill. And me being a stupid Aussie, I put my head out and I said, "Excuse me," I said, "Was that an earthquake?" And this guy said, "What the? You think that was? You dumb." And I said, "Oh, we don't get them back home."
Yeah.
And then not long after that, we got the one in Newcastle.
Yeah, well, that's the only one I remember.
Which was straight after that. But these guys looking at me thinking, those Aussies aren't real smart at all. But remember the kids, the boys going over in the shower and were screaming and crying, and it was a funny sort of thing. I mean, you think they're just going to go like that, but it's rather shaking side to side, and they were something to experience anyway.
Yeah, well, that happened on Saturday, the morning of the Battle of Brisbane, where the Broncos sent some shockwaves through the Dolphins there, like
nice
that
segue. Nice segue.
That was seamless. Yeah.
But pardon the pun. Seamless.
Oh, going good there today. Maybe we should wrap up the show right now. I've started.
I don't get shaky.
Yeah. But the Broncos down by 14. How impressed were you, Lockyer, their ability to come back? They seemed to click into another gear in that second half.
Yeah, it was impressive. I think when they were down sort of by that margin, it could either go two ways, and either, you start to throw caution at the wind and it doesn't work. But I thought there was a couple of players in particular. Reece got himself involved a lot more and points started to flow. So it was I think a really good performance from the perspective of that will help their confidence, that they can, they've lost, the halves from the week before and Sel and Cobbo, and they've been able to come up with a good win. So that'll give all those players that replace, Ezra and replace Renault, as in Billy and Hunty, that'll give them a huge confidence boost.
Yeah, I think Reece's positional play was really good. Looked at that and the way that he was desperate to play a major part in the game, but it was pretty good. And when you're coming up with injuries in your side, you've certainly got to be able to rely on players. And I thought those that had a little bit of pressure on them certainly did perform extremely well.
And with the majority of their playmakers out, or their first choice playmakers rather, Lucky, how much do their premiership hopes now hinge on Reece Walsh?
Well, I think you don't want to put too much pressure on Reece, but if he, I think his focus, if it is just, I'll do my job first and then my natural game will happen after that. And that's what I think I liked about the other night. He did his job for his team, but then, when he injected himself into the game, he did what Reece could do. what he does with his speed is he puts the doubt into the defensive players' minds, and they make poor decisions.
Yep.
We saw that 2 times down the short side, and then the Bronx led in 28, which is probably disappointing, but they scored 38.
Yeah.
And that's what they're capable of with Reece when he's playing well.
Yeah, and it was good to see, while he didn't appear to have that strapping on his knee, so that's a positive because he's been plagued by that knee injury pretty much all season.
Yeah, and I think that when that happens too, Adam, if you haven't got the strapping on your knee, you don't feel it there. You don't feel that it's restricting you in any way, shape or form. And I was very lucky. I didn't have too many occasions where I had a knee strapped up, so I don't know. But it can be an enormous hurdle for a lot of the players if they've got that on their knee, and it's a real restriction for them. But I think everyone was very happy with his efforts. His positional play, I thought, was really good. He came up with a couple that he'll probably wish that he didn't do, but I certainly did enjoy his performance. I thought it was good. Yeah,
another player who really stood up in the 7 jersey, back like old times, Ben Hunt wearing that 7. Lockie, let's give him a mark out of 10. How do you rate Ben Hunt's game in that Battle of Brisbane?
Oh, I'd give him an 8. I think I liked his composure.
Yeah.
I think, a fair bit of responsibility laying on his shoulders. Now, he's played plenty of 7, but he hadn't played there for a while. So I liked his leadership and I liked his composure. So, 8 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, he's very cool, calm and collected, and led the way well. And I thought there was almost leadership about it, and it was very good for the players around him. He
plays his 350th game this week, Ben Hunt, in the NRL. Week of milestones: DCE 350th, Ben Hunt 350th, Dane Zorko 300th in the AFL, our old mate from the Brisbane Lions. So a lot of milestones happening for Queenslanders this week.
I was at Bronx training today, at the club, and they were wearing his...
the Blackwater Crushers?
Yeah, which is his junior club. They're wearing their socks.
How good.
Yeah, and they got the 350 shirt for Ben Hunt. So they're making it a special milestone through the week, and I think the motive there is to get a performance on Sunday, because I know the Knights aren't travelling that well, but they're never easy, when you play them down there in Newcastle.
Oh yeah, I agree with that, Lockie. They're always a tough side, but when you play them in Newcastle, they're twice as good. Yeah. They really are. They're a side that I believe put in a performance for their fans, their loyal fans that always turn up down there, and they let you know that you're not welcome when you're from the visiting side down there, and that's certainly going to be repeated. But the Broncos will have to put in.
Broncos are actually going down early, Lockie, as you probably know, for a 4-day camp. How helpful could that be in the lead up to the finals, just to galvanise the playing group too?
Yeah, you hear a lot of coaches, but Mad uses the word connection a lot. And I think given the injuries to date in the last couple of weeks, I think just getting the group to come together with those new combinations, I think he's starting to ramp up his preparations for potential finals and building that sort of rapport and connection with his team.
And you mentioned how good Ben Hunt was. Also the unsung hero in the 6 jersey too, Billy Walters, wearing that for the first time with Adam Reynolds and Ezra Mam out injured. He's pretty underrated, isn't he, Wal?
Yeah, and he plays his own style of game as well. He loves fitting into the team plan and won't ignore the coach in that area. But he's got something about him that is very good, and his creative skills certainly will come into play. His support play is as good as any player I've ever seen. Yeah. How he manages to do that in his short-term runs, but he provides assistance for those around him, and that's extremely impressive, particularly to the ball carrier.
It's been a huge credit to Bill with his attitude this year, and I think he brings a certain energy to that team, and he got he's probably thought I could probably play more minutes at hooker, but he's got the opportunity to play in the 6 jersey for 80 minutes now, and he's first start in that jersey for 80 minutes, he did a cracking job.
What about the vision too for that kick for Karapani after they made that amazing break?
Well, I felt that brought the crowd to life, that try, and then they got the momentum off the back of that. So you could sense he could see the space. He just had to work out how to get it there, and he just hooked it.
Yeah.
Now, had that really slick move too. I think it was Dean Mariner's try in the second half. If you go back and watch that, he goes Hunt to Walters to maybe Tony Staggs who sets it up. So that was a good sign of how well they're gelling as a new halves pairing. One point I wanted to bring up, I think it was 5 minutes to go. I don't know if you guys picked up on it. The Broncos deliberately give away a scrub penalty. They're defending 10 metres out from their line. They have 30 seconds to pack the scrum. They deliberately don't do it and give away a penalty. Essentially, the reason they do it is because it's easier to defend on your line with the entire team rather than the players caught out for the scrum.
Yep.
What would you like to see in that situation? My theory is, because teams are doing it forever now, it's not just the Broncos who are gaming the system. If you don't pack the scrum within 30 seconds, a player of yours gets sin binned and you have to choose which player that is. And then if the player's getting sin binned, no teams take more than 30 seconds to pack a scrum, or is that too harsh?
Oh, that's almost bullying the person who gets sent, because the person who gets selected to go off is like...
That's it, yeah.
Which one?
You're the least important player on the field.
Yeah. Could you imagine that? Yeah. Who do you have to choose?
The referee would be criticised. He's made the decision. What, me? I'm the least important?
The last forward to pack into the scrum.
Oh, no. Well, look, why don't you just go back to if you don't pack the scrum, it's a penalty. So they can kick for goal.
Yeah, okay.
You know,
take away the differential where you can't kick for goal.
It means if you're going to do that, it's 2 points.
Yeah, okay, yeah, fair enough. Well, look at it from the game, from the Dolphins' perspective. It was so near, but so far. The Trey Fuller experiment, he comes back to play at number one. Hammer moves in the centres. How do you guys assess that?
Well, Fuller was outstanding.
Yeah.
He had stats, 21 carries for 257 running metres. Do you look at putting him on the wing?
Yeah, okay.
Because you can still get the kick returns out of him, and you can give him a bit of a licence to roam somewhat. I feel like Hammer just doesn't get involved enough when he's in the centres.
Yep.
So if you get him back to fullback, but I think Trey Fuller's the type of bloke, doesn't matter where he is on the field, he'll get involved.
Yep.
So I'd almost look at putting him in the wing.
Yeah, tough decision to be made by the coach there, but Hammer, boy, he's just got that ability, and I think when he's at fullback, he's got the opportunity to make his own mind up on where he's going, where he's going to attack, and it can be anywhere all over the field. Whereas in the centres, he's restricted a little bit, but his worth. Is quite wonderful. He's just one of those players that makes life extremely uncomfortable for the defenders on the opposition.
Yeah, I guess the only downside would be Fuller on a wing if you got a big winger with those crossfield kicks. But you could find a way to negate that and maybe switch out with a centre if the kick's coming across. But watching their training today, it looks as though Trey Fuller will stay at fullback and Hammer in the centres, even though Hammer was caught out a couple of times by Tony Staggs in that game. And
I think the key is trying to get both Fuller and Hammer into the game.
Yeah.
I'd let Hammer do a bit like what Turbo did in the Origin series a few years ago.
Change sides of the field, yeah.
If he's playing on the left, he can still go wherever he wants.
Yeah.
One thing I really like is I like how Tony Staggs talks a big game before the Battle of Brisbane. And in my mind, he seems to score every time they play the Dolphins. And I love the this is our house type thing. And just the passion he oozes is just, quite phenomenal. It's great to see.
The fact I interviewed him maybe 2 months ago, and talking about how aggressive he is when he tackles.
Yeah.
Because he used to chase down sheep and tackle sheep and wrestle sheep.
When he was a kid.
Yeah, when he was a kid.
Down in Wellington, I think, New South Wales. Yeah.
So that's where he's learned it from. He sees sheep.
Yeah. He's ultra aggressive. We love watching Tony Staggs play. Interesting to see what happens with him at the end of the season if he plays for Tonga or Kangaroos too. That's another talking point. But
there's another decision to be made. But I quite like the way that when he's roaming, he's really worth watching. I quite enjoy it.
And you can tell how much it means to wear the Broncos jersey to him. That's what I get every time I see Tony Staggs. There's no one more pleased when they win. There's no one more disappointed when they lose than Tony Staggs.
He wears his heart on his sleeve. Yeah. He's an aggressive type player, but he cares about his performance and he cares about the club. So good player to have in the jersey.
And he hates losing. Absolutely hates losing. And I've noticed when he misses a tackle, he's filthy on himself and he gets up and he's just got that perfection about him where he has full intentions to go out and make the next one count.
Yeah, and from the Dolphins' perspective, unfortunately, they've tumbled out of the top 8 after back-to-back losses to the Roosters and the Broncos. What do you see? Do you think maybe the pressure of getting into the finals for the first time is starting to get to them a bit?
Well, I just think you forget how many players they got injured.
Yeah.
Herbie was a big loss. I just think there's a lot of experience in that forward pack, and no Max Plath. They've done really well to get to where they are. They've still got a better for and against than the Roosters and the Sharks, who are above them on the ladder.
Yep.
So they're not out of the race yet. If they can jag a couple of wins out of the last three?
3 to go.
Three to go.
So they play Manly, Titans, Raiders.
Yeah. So Titans at home, Raiders out at
KO.
Right? I think this week's probably their hardest game.
Yeah.
Raiders are on top of the ladder, but I think playing Manly at 4 Pines is a tough assignment.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they've got a little bit of determination about them too, Manly. They want to correct some of the errors that they've had in their game, which has been awful on a number of occasions. So that certainly won't be an easy one.
Well, it's DCE's 350.
350.
Yeah.
Oh,
what about the motivation there? But just on the Dolphins, so their inaugural season, after 13 rounds, they were 6th. They finished 13th. Last year, after 13 rounds, they were 4th, finished 10th. And this year, after round 15, they were 6th. Now they're 9th. And essentially, you don't want to be known.
Fade.
Yeah, you don't want to be known as the team that continually fades. I guess there's growing pains with a new club, but you think maybe a little bit that might be in the back of their minds?
Yeah. Well, now that you've done your homework, exposed them,
and reminded them.
They might be thinking about it, but I reckon that just given the personnel they've had missing this year, I think they've achieved. They've been
overachieved at the
not
start.
overachieved, but they've been very good this year.
Yeah.
And in the next 3 weeks, it can make or break their season. People can either go, "Oh, that was a great season," based on what they do in the next 3 weeks if they make the finals, or if they go straight out the back door, people go, well that was probably a fail in the end.
Yeah. They've had plenty of luck throughout the course of the season, but unfortunately most of it's been bad.
Yeah.
Wrong place, wrong time, injuries coming up to the wrong players, and it's been terrible to overcome. And I think they've held up fairly well considering the strife that they've been in.
They do get a double bonus forward firepower this week against Manly. So Felice Kafusi and Francis Molo both returned from suspension. I think that was the turning point in that Broncos game. Towards the back end, they just ran out of gas in the forwards. They just didn't. They were missing one of those guys.
Yeah.
They had one more middle forward.
Yeah, and I reckon Felice would have got into a little bit of strife with the coach. I quite like his aggressive play. I think it's fantastic, but that was very expensive in that game, and certainly wasn't what the coach would have had in mind. That's for sure.
And just with the DCE situation, how much do you think that'll fire up the Manly boys?
Well, if that doesn't fire them up, what will?
Yeah.
It's been a very challenging season for DCE and Manly, given the speculation, then the announcement, and then just the constant discussion around DCE and where he's going. And I feel like wherever he's going, not announcing that is just all that's done is prolong the speculation.
Yeah.
I just think it could have been avoided by if they had just a. I don't know. I still to this day don't know why it hasn't been announced if he's going somewhere. And I think it's been a massive distraction for him and the club.
Yeah, him in particular. I agree with you, Lockyer. It's been in the back of his mind. He's been asked, and if anybody expects journos not to ask that question, and if by saying, I'll make the decision a little bit later in the year, that's going to get asked every week, every training session. It'll be a few times, and it's in between his ears. And certainly, I agree with you, Lockyer. I think that it sort of just made the decision and got on with it.
Bit of talk. Should he retire or play on next season?
Look, I reckon, again, a bit might hinge on what happens in the next 3 weeks. I don't think DCE would want to finish on a sour note, on a poor note.
Yeah.
So I think potentially if he has a really good 3 weeks, it might sway his decision. But I think the plan, if I'm him, I'm sticking to the plan. If the plan is I'm signed somewhere, then I'm going there to fulfil my duties.
and put in his best performance every week. And I think we've seen that at representative levels where he's been under the, we've probably heard this previously. Will this be his last game for Queensland? Well, he's gone out and performed extremely well. But, he's the one under the microscope at the moment and only he can do something about it.
Yeah, well, just on the Maroons, what do you think his origin legacy will be for Queensland? 26 games, 3-time series winning captain. I think he's just outside top 15 all-time most appearances for the Maroons. How do you assess his legacy?
Oh, I think 3 times captain, like that's significant.
Yeah.
And there was when Gal did us a favour and called us the worst Queensland team ever. And that was, I think, Wayne was the coach and DC was captain, and he sort of. That was his breakthrough at that level. There's a lot of question marks whether he belonged there, but that was the breakthrough for him. And then he won another 2 series after that. So I think to win 3 as captain, that's significant.
Yeah, and something that he'll enjoy talking about the rest of his life. But yeah, you're right. Gal lit the fuse that occasion, gave him real reason to perform, and he certainly did that. And I think it probably gave him an opportunity to remember that as his career got a little bit older. And he had the opportunity to be able to know what was required and when, and the important role that leadership plays.
Well, the only players from Queensland who have captained more Origin Series victories are you two guys and Cameron Smith. So that's pretty elite company.
Yeah.
So amazing legacy he will leave in the Origin around. I was speaking to Felice Kafusi about it today when we did an interview with him at the Dolphins. I said, what was it about DCE that you liked playing with him? Because he was under him extensively at Origin level. And he said the look in his eyes. He goes, he would get us in a huddle. So often we'd be the underdogs, we'd be written off. But he'd look you in the eye and instill belief into you. So, yeah, it was interesting to hear Felice Kafusi say that. I guess you guys would have done a lot of those speeches back in the day.
Not too many front rows listen to a halfback.
Yeah. Shane Webke would have listened to you a lot.
Yeah.
Just get me the ball, Lockyer.
Yeah, he just used to nod the head. He wasn't listening.
Yeah. Let's move on to our tab big call this week. Last week, Lockyer almost cashed in thanks to the Cowboys. He tipped Cowboys to win 20 plus. They did. They won by 34 points, I think, against the Knights. And Tom Dearden 2 tries. He scored 1 try, and then right at the end, he passed off to Scott Drinkwater. So
yeah, he must have. Maybe he was listening and thought I was rigging.
Yeah.
I got close. You got to be in it to win it. So I had a crack.
And mine was the Broncos to just win the Battle of Brisbane. Corey Pakes to score the match winner. So Pakes, he let me down by not scoring a try, but the Broncos got the job done. So what are we thinking tab big calls this week? Mine is going to be Thursday night footy, live and free here on 9. The Rabbitohs against the Dragons. Alex Johnston scores a hat-trick in that game and he matches the record for Ken Irvine's try-scoring feats in first-grade rugby league. We've been waiting weeks for it to happen. I think he's just going to go bang and get the hat-trick against the Dragons.
He's going to have to go bang, bang, bang.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
I will go. The Titans have got the Warriors in on the Gold Coast. Remember, it was only a few weeks ago they beat them in New Zealand. So Titans to get a win against the Warriors by 10 plus.
Oh, there we go. Jaden Campbell, help Lockyer out.
Yes, Jaden gets 1 try.
Yeah, there we go. Well, what do you think?
Melbourne, who are they up against this week?
Melbourne have got...
That's a big game. I think they've got
a tough game.
Hang on, let me look at that. It's a big game.
I think it's... they're a side that I just cannot ever get tired of tipping. I've been a fan for a long time. Seen some of their displays.
Melbourne versus Dogs in Melbourne.
The Dogs in Melbourne. That's something I remember watching their clash down there last year, where it was I thought it was arguably the best match of the season. The Bulldogs, I expect them to come and be a little bit crankier this week, but Melbourne, they love performing best against the best teams in the competition, particularly when it's on home soil. And certainly if it is, then you can never write them off. It'll be another performance, and I probably think that the coach may break the all-time record for blood pressure going through that game. There'll be a fair bit of interest in this match.
Yeah, fascinating what he's doing with the team. Munster playing fullback last week in the absence of Pappenhausen. I did Queensland Cup game on the weekend. Nelson Asafa-Solomona was playing for the Sunshine Coast Falcons. So Bellamy obviously making him re-earn his spot before the final. So, yes, no easy selections for Melbourne back into the year.
No, well, I mean, Harry Grant since the Origin's been outstanding and was pulled a rabbit out of the hat the other night. Might have got a penalty too.
Yeah.
But anyway, well done, Harry.
He played to the rules. Speaking of Queensland Cup too, congratulations to Jared Cole, the Queensland Cup refereed the grand final. He made his NRL debut on the weekend in that Cowboys-Knights game, so good to see him back in a Queenslander.
Yeah, I got to watch that game, Adam, and I thought he was wonderful.
He's confident.
He was confident. He ruled with dominance throughout the course of the game. He was probably as nervous as, but I thought it was a wonderful performance, and there'll be a lot of people say that's the first time you've ever given a referee a rap.
Yeah.
But,
Except for the Barry Commissal.
Grasshopper. Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about there, Lockyer. I thought it was a great performance, and if anything, it will be inspirational to a lot of younger referees that probably have this as the thought where I want to be in a couple of years' time. So wonderful performance. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, it was interesting too, back end of the game. I don't know if it was the Cowboys or Knights, was a frivolous captain's challenge. And it's funny because he does Queensland Cup where there's no captain's challenge even for the TV games. And the look of his eyes, it was like, come on, this isn't a captain's challenge. But he had to go through the process and it was turned down. But congratulations once again to Jared Cole and all the other Queensland referees flying the flag for us in the NRL. Speaking of Queenslanders, let's focus on rep footy towards the back end of the year. A lot of machinations there with players going to Samoa or Tonga. Let's focus on the Aussie team for the Ashes squad. Who's some Queenslanders that you really hope are in that Kangaroos team for Kevy, or expect to be in the team maybe?
Well, I think you take a couple of things into consideration. Obviously, you look back at the Origin series, and look at who performed there, and that definitely comes into consideration. And then obviously the Queenslanders that go deep into the finals. So you'll get your players that are always going to be picked, and then you'll get your players that are, sitting on the fringe of that. And depending on how deep they go in the finals and what they did at Origin will give them the best chance of getting into that team.
So some of the names, Tom Dearden, you'd think would be in there. Reuben Cotter, Munster, Xavier Coates been in outstanding form. Pat Carrigan, they're short of middles at the moment. Maybe Trent Liero to make his debut.
I thought he was very good at Origin, and you would expect Melbourne to go deep into the finals.
Harry Grant, it'd be a lock for that. And two other I tossed up, maybe Kurt Mann if you want utility value on the bench. And I think Jai Arrow's been really good for the Rabbitohs. I don't know how busted he is at the moment, but if we are short of middles, he's the kind of guy that's he's a bit of mongrel in him and would stir up the Englishman.
Well, I guess what works against him is he didn't play Origin, and
they'll finish the season early.
So, but I agree. I think when you go on those tours, and you would know this well, that there's obviously talent will always be there, but it's just, it's getting the team to gel with each other. And I think that's one of Kevy's greatest strengths. So,
You mentioned Xavier Coates. I've been impressed with these last couple of games. He's been fantastic, absolutely fantastic, and I think that he's obviously set himself a goal, playing in front of a good coach that obviously inspires him as well. But his last couple of performances have been extremely good.
Yeah, it's so dangerous when they get into that little corner and they put up the kick for Xavier Coates. You know what's coming, but you just can't stop it. So good luck to anyone playing Melbourne the next few weeks. And just continuing on for the rep theme. So talk now that Tina Fasua-Mala'awi and the Hammer are in the sights of Samoa after Payne Haas announced he's pledging his allegiance to Samoa instead of Australia. If those two go across, they almost become equal favourites now with the Kangaroos for the World Cup next year. Could you imagine Hammer lining up in the centres with Stephen Crichton and a front row pairing of Tino and Payne Haas?
Look, while this makes it harder for Australia, I think it's a good outcome for the international.
Yeah.
It just means you've got more contenders. You can go to a World Cup and actually have
5 teams at the moment, I think.
You can have 5 teams that can potentially win it. And I think that's good for the game. It just makes it a bit trickier for whoever, Kev or whoever's coaching Australia at the time. But I like that playing for your heritage. I like that. I think that's what we get in Origin is tribalism. What we get at NRL level is tribalism, and I think getting that at the international level is important too.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Lockyer. With them heading elsewhere, it certainly opens the door for other players to be able to slip into the Australian side in particular. And I think the competition for spots there will be very, very tough. But certainly the performances they will show once they've got the pride of donning the green and gold, it'll be fantastic. It's a wonderful thing for the international game.
Yeah, I think the Payne Haas move is the tipping point. Like, it'll have a snowball effect, and a lot of people look at him because he's probably the best forward in the game, and they'll go, if Payne Haas is doing it, I might move over as well. And he was quite eloquent the way he explained it. He's harked back 2 years ago. They had a test match in Townsville, and Samoa was lining up against Australia, and he heard the anthem go off, and there was a little moment in his head thinking, am I playing for the right team? Because he said back when he was a kid, he'd be in the car with his grandparents, and his grandparents would sing the Samoan national anthem to him and his brothers and sisters, so that invoked memories. So, like, you can't blame Payne for wanting to represent his heritage for his grandparents.
I think if every player playing international rugby league is playing where their heart is, then that's going to be a good outcome for the product.
Oh, yeah. Fantastic. Yeah, the international game is alive and kicking.
And we spoke to Qlder Finifuiaki from the Dolphins today because he's joint eligible for Samoa and Tonga. He's pledged his allegiance to Tonga. And he said when he was a kid, he was almost the referee at home because mum's side of the family, I don't know if it was Samoan or Tonga, and then 50-50. So he was like sitting at home, like trying to play the referee. But,
well, that's that tribalism I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And it runs all through the Pacific nations and obviously, we get it at Origin level, we get it at the NRL level, but to bring it into that sort of stratosphere in National Rugby League, it's good.
And Adam, in my earlier days, I got to watch a lot of rugby played with the international game, and the pride of the heritage there is quite remarkable, and it's an opportunity, I think. To make a comparison now what rugby league is when we're doing the same things, and I think it'll be outstanding.
And hopefully the introduction of PNG to the NRL really strengthens their team. So you have the 6 nations, Australia, New Zealand, England, Samoa, Tonga and PNG. Imagine World Cup in 10 years' time with those 6 going head-to-head. Be outstanding. But this week, focus on the NRL. Just 3 more rounds to go before the finals kick off. Sunday afternoon footy, you'll see the Cowboys in action live and free against the West Tigers. Both those sides coming off a win. And also a reminder too, you get the extra Saturday night game here on Channel 9 in the lead up to the finals. The Eels up against the Roosters. Hopefully the Roosters lose and do the Broncos and the Dolphins a favour. But we'll be back here to dissect it all next week here on Queenslander. We look forward to seeing you then.